Marfoogle News going live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Mysterious guided rocket launcher system that we showed you last month. They apparently have leaked out the name of it. And what's so crazy is that the U.S. military, the most badass of badasses, have essentially made their own version of what the poor countries have done as a covert option to essentially get sneak attack weapons into countries. Now, we talked about this before. This was a brief mention because the president was actually snapped a picture in front of this, being shown this last month. An unknown containerized launcher able to fire the same suite of artillery rockets and ballistic missiles as the M270, essentially the HIMARS, was seen at the U.S. Army's Fort Bragg earlier this year. Now we know what it is. As for the launcher seen at Bragg, it is a prototype launch system developed as part of the Palletized Field Artillery Launcher project. So now we actually have these palletized container weapons. Now, if we're making these, you can only surmise that this is an answer to something, that this is something that we need, and it is most likely an answer to the exact same thing in our enemy's hands. Now, we know that the Russian versions of these have been out for a very long time, but the very scary thought is having China have these. China having so much control over the shipping lanes, over these massive, massive companies and all of the shipping companies and all of the shipping cargo that comes into our country every single day. If things were to be kind of on a razor's edge and all of a sudden, just like CV, all of a sudden we have 20 ships out in the bay and they're all stuck because of some sort of disaster, they could all open up their tops and launch missiles. This would be just the tip of the iceberg, of course, because now we've been covering for the last 6 months all of the different technology that would work hand in hand with this to essentially take the U.S. down a notch. I firmly believe that China is the whole root, or at least the top henchman of this entire thing that is happening in the world. And again, this was just kind of repeated by Mark Rutte. And if Mark Rutte is saying it, whether it's propaganda or not, it is the next piece of the narrative. So we'll talk about this and again, much, much more, not only on this, but our next show right after it over on Marfoogle TV. We're going to hit that Donald just threatened Putin and Xi that he would bomb Moscow. And we are also going to hit that Tucker Carlson says it's obvious why Pam Bondi is covering up the EpiPen. So we'll talk about that here in a second. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is a very easy device to put on your car, truck, motorcycle, boats, generators, pretty much anything that runs. If you want to keep it running after an EMP strike, then you want to have an EMP shield on it. This is the same technology that's being used by FBI, DHS, DOD, Air Force, and many other government institutions that we probably don't even know the name of yet. Again, go check this out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. We've been with them since way before all of that. Again, this is an amazing thing that could very well save people's lives, get them home to their families. It's going to ground the signal of an EMP strike or a Carrington level event from the sun in less than 500 trillionths of a second. So again, this is no surge protector. This is, again, a shield. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. You'll save $50 off per device, and you will help our independent channel. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, by the way, it's like one little thing after another. Over the past 6-7 years, especially with the last administration, there was a lot of talk about what was correct information, what was bad information, what was swayed information, what was mis. And it's like when you are looking at all of the things that we call verifiable, and say you have 40 of them, and you're saying, well, wait, all 4 of these are related. How in the world could you call that bad, right? Well, we're looking at everything that is being put out right now, and it absolutely paints a crazy picture with China, Russia, with Israel, with, of course, Iran, with Cuba, with North Korea, with everybody involved. So now you have, of course, Trump doing some basically a massive threat. So talk about that.
Right. Get this. This is a threat he made in 2024. So before he became the current sitting president, obviously referring to a conversation he had prior. Now, it's interesting, why is CNN releasing this audio broadcast? Because it was at a private fundraising event. But nonetheless, the conversation or the statements he was making, he was sort of bragging about how Russia would have never invaded Ukraine. And he said, with Putin, the quote, this is his quote, with Putin, I said, if you go into Ukraine, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. Trump is heard saying in that, recounting his conversation about them. And then he also said that he said the same thing to Xi. He said, if, I'm going to bomb Beijing if you invade Taiwan. And he then went on to say, it didn't matter, how much they believed me, as long as they believed me at least 10% was good enough to keep them from doing anything. So the question is, why are we putting this piece of audio out now from CNN, from this private fundraiser? Not that it was top secret information or anything, and maybe it is what he truly said, or maybe he's just bragging because he likes to brag about things, and he emboldened his conversations that he had with Putin and Xi from his prior term. But nonetheless, why is it coming out now, given all of the strife between these two countries that we have, and the fact that we're building this anticipation of conflict in both Taiwan and Europe?
It's like CNN has like their goodie safe, and they're like, oh, this is the perfect time. Ugh. And they release this audio, right? If in my opinion, and I think the same way too, if there's a massive deal being made by Fox or any on either side, you have to look at when it is repeated across many media and they all kind of squire the same message. It is absolutely something that you have to question. Like, is this is this something that there's a script for, right? That everybody says, nope, you need to cover it like this and don't cover it any other way. CNN is putting this out. CNN has lost a lot of credibility over the years. Of course, I've had people debate me over on Twitter, the reliability of CNN now. And for some reason in the last 2 years, people think that it really has strived to get better. And I'm like, CNN never really admitted it got bad. CNN was a circus. So is Fox in its own way, right? All of these mainstream medias are just full of crap. At this point, everything is based on this lie that we all choose to believe. But we're not trying to believe the lies. We're trying to go with our gut and look at the patterns of the train that's moving. No matter how they frame it and frame how we look at it, that train is still going to crash. And that's how I think that this is going to go down. And many of my peers totally understand. It's almost like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you wake up to this alarm clock, you can never hit snooze. And then Tucker Carlson says it's obvious why Pam Bondi is covering up the EpiPen conflict. Dex, do you want to go over that? And of course, Tucker has been making headlines once again because he's been attempting peace talks and all sorts of things that I'm sure some people out there don't want him doing.
Well, yeah. So, just to kind of summarize what he's saying, he is basically saying, hey, I don't think Trump's on the list. I don't think it's anything to do with that. In fact, his position, and it's not just him, others have this, and I kind of subscribe to it as well. There's probably this whole notion that people said that EpiPen may have been tied in with the secret agencies like CIA or Mossad or others, that he was used, and that created all of this opportunity for those organizations to then have that control over people. And if they were to release this or release any of that information, they would then lose. So there's two sides to it. One, it would prove that he was working with CIA and prove that he was working with Mossad, or one or the other or both. The second thing is it would also then invalidate the power that those three-letter agencies have over the people that they used him to gain that power over. So they would instantly lose the control that they have. So I think that is one of the many speculations as to why this is sort of being brushed up under the rug again, and told there's nothing to see here, move along. As much as it's probably more likely that scenario than, oh, Trump's on a list. Because if he was on a list,
Okay.
the other side would have put him out a long time ago.
All right. Well, and I'm going to be honest here, because here's the thing with all of the stuff that happened and all of the stuff that they threw at the president's feet. Really, people were so fed up with how politics were, they wanted somebody that was not a politician, even if that meant, and I believe that this really meant this, even if it meant getting somebody who they didn't personally agree with their moral compass, right? And again, in a lot of ways, there were a lot of situations. There was locker talk, the whole Billy whatever in the entertainment TV, the Billy Bush or whatever. All of that stuff, when people heard that, the media thought, oh, he's done, he's destroyed. In a lot of cases, politicians would be destroyed. But he was essentially framed as he's a regular guy. He's coming in and voicing for the regular people, the people that don't have to have the angel wings on all the time because they're politicians and they have to have the clean record because that's their position, right? Well, at the same time, many people probably know that he again, his quote with EpiPen, it is very bad sounding because he says, and I've heard that he loves beautiful women as much as I do. Trump is an old school dude. He is in his 70s. He's from a different generation. And this is what gets me, is that people really do not truly give leeway for different generations. Like, my generation is so completely different than my 20-year-olds. They don't understand us. I mean, when my daughter was 12, all 5 of her friends on our camping trip were talking about Republicans and this. And I'm like, when we were 12, we were throwing rocks and pine cones at each other. They are talking about moral issues and things, and they don't belong in that arena, right? Well, with this, it's like, you have these comments. I believe that Trump is, he's an old guy, and those comments make people think, well, did he know? And that's the thing, I think that EpiPen wasn't just for the wee ones. I think he was the guy that you went to get anything done. The thing that people don't understand when you are at that level of rich, whatever your desire is, and this is the crazy part, we don't understand this. We think of it on our level, like if you wanted to have an affair, you go to a lady and you would pay her for this service. When you are that rich, and you are that discreet and stuff, these people have essentially just like a servant or a house cleaner or a chauffeur, but it's a chauffeur for their deviances, right? So there is a chance that he could have used EpiPen for those deviances, and that still wouldn't make him innocent. If he knew that EpiPen was doing all of that other stuff, that's where it really sits into place, because he was good friends with him. And right now there's a really big shift against the president. But again, how much of that is altered by the media that has been attacking him for so many years? Now it seems it's actually coming in from the influencers. And one thing I wonder is are influencers, getting a $4 million check to be paid in 3 years over time in a discrete account? And I'm not saying anybody is just getting paid out to shill, but I question it, because right now, I see people flipping on a dime. I see people that would, loyally sit through, 4 years of rallies and then they flip on a dime. I'm like, it's the same notion why you shouldn't flip on a dime on anything. On anything. Not saying that you should be supporting him, or if you hate him, you shouldn't just love him in the next day. Nobody should be flip-flopping their views, especially on something that we guide our moral compass by. The EpiPen stuff and the Tucker stuff is like, people have now turned against Tucker. People turned against AJ. People turned against all these names. And why? Because, like AJ, within weeks of getting deplatformed, he was just thrown out. And then people were like, oh, he's an agent. One thing I don't get is, like, if you lose all of your businesses, everything, you're all of a sudden the enemy. you're all of a sudden the agent, when the agent should be the one that's at the top, that's in the, in the glory on the front page, not the one getting shadow banned, getting censored and being held back. That's what I don't understand. And people are reversing it. They're glorifying a channel that gets 4 million subscribers in a year and can talk about whatever. And you're not asking the question, like, why can they talk about this? Right? So look at the sources here. Look at what everything that's happening right now. EpiPen, most definitely something is wrong with this. The video, it says now further confirmed by video. Who the hell believes video? And then they also then come out with this very convenient fact that there's also a minute missing. A minute is enough for anything to happen. If that was real video, why did they lie about it? They just don't have a clean answer for it. This is just stupid. People have to stop just going, oh, shiny thing, shiny thing. People should just be calling BS and say, nope, we're not going to even take this as an answer. But that's just my opinion. Again, hopefully you're partially here for that. So I hope you guys join us for the next show. We have a lot to go over in the next one. Sleeper cells. Again, we're going to talk about that. They could be all around you. And I actually believe that this is something that, whether it is a legit plan or a narrative plan or something that will be used to further things, I believe that this is something that is being hinted in the back of your mind for a reason. We're going to talk about this on our next show, so make sure to join us. If you want to join us over on that show, all you have to do is click here. If you're in the chat, just stay there. You'll be ported over. We'll see you in just a minute. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. You can get a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over at marfooglenews.com.